Ailsa and Asteria Lialynn were the daughters of two of the most prominent elves in Faenbel. Their parents, Theodos and Sapiel, were the most magical elves of their time. Ailsa was a very quiet girl. She was quite advanced with her magic. She impressed all of her teachers. Now Asteria was a very outgoing individual. She had many friends, but her magic was not up to the same level as her sister. That causes jealousy between Asteria and Ailsa. One night the Lialyns were eating supper. Theodos started talking about the girls' schooling. "Girls," he said, "how is your schooling going?" Ailsa looked up from her food and said, "My schooling is going well, Papa. I just learned how to cast a spell from ancient Cordelia." "That's very good," Theodos said. He looked at Asteria, who had her head down at her plate, looking like she was trying to avoid the question. "Asteria?" said Theodos. "Yes, Papa," she meekly answered. "How is your schooling going?" he said. Asteria looked at her father and sadly said, "I didn't do well on my last test." Theodos looked upset. He didn't like it when the girls didn't do well in school. He was very disappointed and looked at Asteria and then Ailsa. "Why can't you be like your sister?" he asked angrily. "Theodos, no," said Sapiel. "We should never compare the girls." Asteria stood up from the table. She had tears in her eyes. The fact that her father, the man she admired and aspired to be like, said such a hurtful thing shattered her heart. She ran to her room and slammed the door. She put her head and her pillow downstairs. Sapiel tried to go to Asteria and comfort her. Theodos forbade it, and they sat down to finish dinner. After a while, Ailsa finished her dinner and asked to be excused. Her father excused her, and she ran upstairs to see her sister. She walked up the stairs and opened the door. "Asteria?" Ailsa said as she walked towards her sister's bed. Asteria looked up at her sister with anger in her eyes. "What do you want?" she yelled. Ailsa sat at the foot of her sister's bed. She quietly spoke. "I am so sorry for what happened at supper." Asteria sat up and glared at her sister. Are you really sorry?" she continues. The perfect, quiet Ailsa Rosanna Lialynn that gets all the praises from all her teachers. Ailsa rolled her eyes and said, "I try my hardest to do well in school, if you would at least try." But before Ailsa could finish, Asteria shot up from her bed and ran out of the room down the stairs and out the back door into the Adalian forest. Ailsa ran after her, but it was too late. Asteria ran into the woods, collapsing beside an old tree stump. She began to cry. She wondered why her life was the way it was and why she had to always be compared to her sister Ailsa. She laid her head on the tree stump and tried to rest her eyes. She fell asleep for what seemed like hours. She awoke to a blinding light shining on her face. A strange woman in a cloak was standing above her. "Hello, my child." Asteria sat up instantly and stared in awe. "My name is Lyra, and I heard your cries. Is there something wrong?" Asteria was very hesitant to tell this strange woman her woes. The woman looked very trusting, so Asteria poured her heart out to Lyra. When Asteria finished telling her story of what happened with her family, Lyra knelt and took Asteria's hands. She finally spoke and said, "My child, do you wish to show your family what you're truly made of? Do you wish to show that you are just as good or better than your sister? Do you wish to be the greatest magical being of all time?" Asteria looked up at Lyra and said, "Yes, more than anything." Suddenly Lyra flew into the air and said, "Asteria, I have 2 magical relics you could use." Asteria walked toward Lyra to hear more about these relics. "Asteria, listen to my words and listen carefully. This is a dangerous trip you are going to take. Go to the top of the Adalian mountains. From there, you will see as you can see a boat that will take you across the Cordelian Sea. Sneak past the Isle of Raiden, go to the shore and enter the Kingdom of Fear. Then finally go to the fire border, and hand these magical words, Armenia's Ignis Glacium Baculo Fortitudo Mea." Lyra continued, "Then the relics will appear to you. But do be careful. These relics' magic is very ancient and very powerful." Asteria looked up at Lyra and said thank you. Asteria turned around to walk, then she turned around to say goodbye, but Lyra was gone. Asteria then went on a journey that lasted several days. She trekked through snowy mountains, sailed across a dangerous sea, passed by a cursed land, and finally made it to the shores of Fear. When she got onto shore, she ran to the firewall where she said the magic words, Armenia's Ignis Glacium Baculo Fortitudo Mea. The firewall then began to separate into ancient wands that appeared from the blue flames. Asteria took the wands from the fire. She was excited and happy that she had these magical wands to show her family what she was made of. Even though it was very exciting, she still had a long journey to get back to her home. It took her days to get back. Finally, she stood on the steps of her home. She opened the door, and her mother greeted her. "Asteria, we have been so worried we haven't heard from you in days. Your father has been out looking for you." Asteria rolled her eyes and said, "I'm sorry, Mama, I needed some time to think. I am all better now. Where is Ailsa? I want to talk to her." Sapiel looked at her daughter and pointed to the girl's room. Ailsa is sitting on her bed reading a book. When Asteria opened the door, Ailsa looked shocked. Asteria, she yelled. Where have you been? We've all been worried sick about you. Papa feels bad about what happened. Asteria sat on the bed next to her sister. All is forgiven. I forgive Papa, I forgive everyone, she said. She took out the ancient wand and placed them on the bed. Dear sister, I want our relationship to be better. I want us to get along more. Here's a gift for you, a beautiful wand that I bought from one of the best stores in Faenbel. I have gotten us matching ones. Ailsa looked at her sister with tears, hugged her, and said thank you. Let's go outside and try them, Asteria said. The girls ran outside to try out their new wands. Asteria and Ailsa ran to the front porch. Ailsa was very excited to try this new spell from the kingdom of Azura. She stood up and started to say her spell when the wand shot out fire and ice. It engulfed Ailsa. It knocked her unconscious, and she collapsed. It knocked her unconscious, and she collapsed to the floor. Asteria was shocked and horrified at what these ones had done. Lyra never told her that it would harm her sister. She just wanted to show that she was good enough too. Asteria ran to her sister and tried to wake her up, but her skin was cold. Sister was gone. Sister was gone, never to return to the way she was. She was in a deep sleep, nothing could wake her up. Asteria sobbed over her sister's body. She cried for her sister and herself. She never had a relationship she dreamed of. She heard her mother running to the front of the house, the front porch. She knew she would be in trouble and get sent away for doing such evil things, especially to such a sweet, kind young girl. She grabbed one and ran into the forest. She found the stump where this all started. She sat there and thought, what is she going to do? She sat there and thought about what she was going to do. She finally thought that she needed to get rid of these wands. In school, she heard of two magical places, Fia and Cordelia. She took the long journey and went to the tallest volcano, where she dropped one wand in and cast a spell so no one could ever get it out. She then went to the deepest cave in Cordelia and did the same with a second wand. Knowing what she did to her sister, Asteria never practiced magic again. She never returned to her home. Legend says that Asteria wanders the realm of Faenbel, looking for a cure to heal her beloved sister. Asteria learned a valuable lesson. She learned that jealousy is never a good thing. Losing her sister was the worst punishment she could ever think of. She will forever mourn the loss of her sister and never use magic again. Her mother and father go from each kingdom trying to find a cure for their Ailsa.